What is the future of women's wrestling? Is the sport equaling strides that society as a whole has made in recent years?
Are you putting women as main event because you see the value and you understand that we are equal, or are you doing it because you know there's money there? I mean, either way, yay, I'm glad women are getting a shot, but if it's gonna change and if it's gonna be real and long-lasting change, it has to come from a place of genuine want, of genuine acceptance, of equality, of equity.
Or are there still some areas in need of improvement?
On camera, women's wrestling has evolved so much and still evolving, and it's come such a long way. I mean, I said it on a podcast recently, like, we've come so far from the lingerie pillow fights and bra and panties matches, you know what I mean, and to main eventing, you know, to two black women main eventing WrestleMania. Like, it's amazing, the growth. But off camera, we still have a lot of progress to make.
I'm Chris Bournet, the director of the documentary Lady Wrestler, the amazing, untold story of African-American women in the ring. On the podcast based on the documentary, I'll interview people who are in the know about the status of women's wrestling. Podcasters like Duke Loves Rasslin.
So what we're seeing in 2021 and beyond in particular, I feel like we're taking a step back. Women aren't featured as much on television across the board as they should be, and even as they were, say, 2 years ago. And I really can't understand why that is.
The Real Docta D.
Women's wrestling is at a good spot where we can elevate them outside of the main companies, and because we know the main companies are paying attention.
John Orlando, host of the PVDCast.
I truly believe that the change begins at the independent level, and it works its way up. There's many independent promotions and wrestling schools that have molded women wrestlers into fantastic multi-dimensional competitors who obviously they rival at times the popularity of many of the male wrestlers.
Nick Alexander, co-host of the 10 Bell Pod wrestling podcast.
I think the current status of women's wrestling today, I think with any marginalized group, today's clearly the best time period ever. But at the same time, it's nowhere close to fair and equal. Like, even as recent as the 2000s, women were an afterthought. In the 90s, they were looked at as their only asset was their sexuality. And in the 80s, mainstream women's wrestling was looked at as just a waste of time.
And most importantly, wrestlers who are following in the footsteps of the black women who integrated pro wrestling in the 1950s. Amber Rodriguez.
You know, just having more female trainers, more female creative writers, you know, more female agents. So yeah, Backstage is a lot of growth that still needs to happen.
And Roni Nicole.
You can't be what already was. So along the way, I had to figure out who I was as an entertainer, as an athlete, and what I personally wanted to represent to people coming up behind me.
A series of exciting new interviews coming up in June 2021 on the podcast Lady Wrestler, the story behind the story. Catch us on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to get the whole story by streaming the Lady Wrestler documentary on Amazon Prime Video. Catch you soon.